What's poppin', everybody? Hello and welcome to Popcorn Culture. My name is Ben Carlin and I am your host. Here with me today is my brother Jay, who will be in every episode.
You know, I will concede that you are the host this episode for one reason, and that's because that for this weekend that's coming up in our real time, you are the actually the best man at the wedding we're going to.
It's true.
And I am more like just sort of like the co-best man. You know, you might say. you might say.
It's so true. Yeah. Well, because you are a groomsman as well.
Co-best man. Okay, yeah.
Co-best. I'm fine with co-best man. I'm that's
Of course you are. Of course you are.
Yeah, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Yes, I have to tell you, and it makes me feel better to know that this episode won't actually come out until after the wedding has occurred.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you that I am getting like severe anxiety about giving a speech at this wedding.
I'm so surprised to hear that because this is not exactly your first rodeo when it comes to wedding speeches.
I know. It's I mean, I would say I'm batting 1,000 on crying in every single one of them. And
Actually, I have a list of things here at the bottom that are like sort of like wedding clichés.
Okay.
Of things that I was like, this would be fun because as we're recording it, the wedding hasn't happened yet, but by the time it comes out, it will have happened.
True.
So we can sound like real buffoons speculating about what's going to happen.
I know, and then we'll have to do in a future episode like a review.
Yeah.
Of how things turned out.
Yeah. So the thing is, you as the best man might already just know a lot of these things, but here's some things that might happen that we can. Who's to say? You submitted this one though.
Yes, I did. Yes, I'm glad you started with me. Thank you.
This weekend, will someone get stitches?
Almost certainly.
You think so?
I think almost certainly. So the really cool thing about the way that this wedding is going down is that the house that we're all staying in is also the venue. And so like the way that Mike and Sammy structured it was so that they put as much of their budget that they had for the venue into renting this like exceptionally cool house. Like, I mean, to say that we will probably never stay in a cooler vacation home ever is, I would say, is accurate. Like, it is okay. It is so cool. So like, but then what they did was the house can actually hold like 50 people. So
is it? Yeah, I keep having trouble even picturing what we're going to say. I feel like I've seen pictures, but then you guys keep calling it a house. But to me, it kind of just looks like a really large hotel, like a maybe a really small hotel or something. Is it? I can't even fathom.
I know
what we're going to.
I know.
Is house the right word? Do you need like a word between? Is it like a house-tel?
It's like a house-tel,
okay,
but not a hostel. Which that U is a defining letter.
Yes.
In this particular description. So it's, I think it's like 25,000 square feet or something. So like my house, for example, is 1,800 square feet. So like if that gives you like a sense of scale as to how many square footages are available, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And it's odd because it's almost like they've built these like common areas that are just like strangely gigantic, but they still mostly feel more house-like than like hotel-like. And it's not like there's like a staff of, like an attendant at like a front desk who you would go to get like your room key from or something like that.
Right.
So very decidedly different in that particular way.
Right. Okay.
But anyway, so the long and the short of it is that basically they had their budget for the venue. They put that towards the rental of the home for like the week while we're going to be there. But then they split the other portion of it with everybody who was then able to stay at the home. And it worked out like rather marvelously because the cost per head or the cost per night for each of the guests is actually much more reasonable than it would be just going to the Outer Banks on your own and booking your own accommodations, and you get to stay in this really cool house with all these people. But the only thing about having so many people in one space is that I think the statistical likelihoods of things happening are like way higher all of a sudden.
Yeah, you get this many people in one place. high probably. You got a real 27 butt situation going on here.
You know what?
You know what I mean?
You really, really, really do. If you
Yeah.
guys ever want to listen to just the best episode of After the Final Pop, which was one of our bonus Patreon perks, we made this one available for anybody so that you could get a taste.
A taste.
It is
of 27 butts.
Of 27 butts. This is me and Jay's. Well, I would say it's really Jay's that I'm gonna like. I will be co-director of. I'll give you that.
Wow.
All the way.
Wow.
Yes. The splendid narrative, and I like of a movie idea that he has that I think is so good that like there is literally a part of me that's like our career in like taking the next step, which is not even something we're angling for, to be clear. Like we're not like film majors. This is not like really where we're going, but I still think that it's such a hilarious idea for like a Christmas vacation kind of calamity style movie.
Yeah.
Called 27 Butts.
27 butts. Butts is the last name of the family.
It is both not what you think and exactly what you think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's 27 butts. They all have to get together for Christmas. Calamity ensues.
There's only one toilet.
There's only that's the thing. Their last name is Butts, but there's also only one toilet in the house, which is the problem.
It is the problem because you have to like book time.
You gotta book. There's always you could always cut back to the line at the bathroom door.
Right. Like at all points in time.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
Anytime you need to transition out of a scene, you go back to the line at the toilet.
Right. I like to think of like just the mountain of necessary toilet paper in this bathroom just to like be sure that you're covered at all times.
Oh yeah,
it's just like a pyramid stack. I imagine.
Yeah, that could be another thing. Like just like you don't really address it on screen, but like slowly every time it's in the background, it's just getting a little bit smaller.
Right. Yes, those are the exact types of things that are the best in movies. Where it's like if you're not paying attention, it doesn't matter, but if you are, it's amazing.
So wait, here's a question for you, Ben. Because like in the world of Christmas movies, like are all Christmas movies classics? Because like almost no matter what, like a Christmas movie will be any Christmas movie could be any person's favorite Christmas movie.
It's
you know
true.
what I mean?
It's
like,
true.
Like there's really good like super classic Christmas movies like Christmas Vacation and
The Santa Claus
and what's the one that just came out on Netflix? Klaus.
Yeah. Well,
becoming an Elf. You know, becoming
an
instant classic.
But no, you're exactly right in this thing too. It's like if you can, it's fascinating to me. Like I remember Elf coming out like in movie theaters, and now it is like a staple of Christmas, and it's so cool whenever you like are in the process of witnessing one of these things happening.
Yeah.
There was actually, and speaking, this is like semi-tangentially related, is last year for Halloween, there was like this Adam Sandler movie that came out. Again, I'm like, I need to look it up. I need to figure out what it's called. But it was like one of these movies that when I saw it, I was like, this just became a Halloween classic. Like the spirit of American Halloween will now be changed because this movie exists. Like,
interesting.
There are now new, like a thermos has a new role in Halloween that it never had before.
Interesting.
And if you haven't seen the movie, I'm going to tell you what the name of it is as soon as
I don't think I've seen it.
You haven't seen it?
I don't think I've seen it.
Okay, hang on a second.
Okay. Adam Sandler Halloween fun.
Halloween movie. It's called Hubie Halloween. Hubie Halloween.
Hubie Halloween.
Hubie Halloween. And the movie itself is just flat out, absolutely, unequivocally ridiculous. Like, but in a way that did it so perfectly that it's like that it's like at first when you start seeing this stuff, it's like, okay, it's like, well, that's like, this is odd, you know, like this isn't in keeping. But then as soon as it is in keeping, you're like, you just roll with it, and it's like it works. And they did such a good job of incorporating these like small things in such a substantial way that it's like, this is very well put together to become a classic. So call him a shot. I think it came out last year. I would be willing to bet that 5 years from now, this is like an incredibly common, if not slightly overused Halloween costume.
I see.
Is being Hubie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll have to see because there's not that many like classic Halloween movies.
Well, I think there's like, okay, let me talk about this. Nightmare
Yeah.
Before Christmas.
Sort of a Christmas movie as well.
Sort of a Christmas movie, sort of a Halloween movie.
Yeah.
I sort of don't like it at all.
Either you like that claymation animation or you don't.
I know, and this is one that like it was a rather substantial sticking point with Allie and I in the beginning of our relationship, because I think it's like she loves it, and when I was a kid and saw it for the first time, it genuinely gave me nightmares. Like, actually scared me like to my core, was terrified of the characters
In the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the one thing the thing I'll always give it commendation for is, I don't even know if that's a word, is the music is absolutely fantastic. So
Cool.
like I'll never fight you on that. The music is amazing. But the rest of it is
27 butts.
no, it's not 27 butts. 27 butts is its own piece of magic.
Well, yes.
I don't understand how more people aren't scared of the movie. Like as an adult, I'm scared of this movie. Like it really gives me like the genuine heebs, and not in a good way. But this is the other thing too, because horror movies as a genre kind of have this like endorphin rush associated with like going and seeing them.
Yeah.
And I think for like a lot of people, it's like simulated fear.
Yeah.
And then what you get after fear is like the rush of positive like relief
that you're safe.
that you're safe.
Yeah.
And so I think for a lot of people, they love that. It's like, I love going and being scared because, for one, I'm not actually in danger. And so it's like the idea of entertainment, but then the after effect of it is like very positive.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I got through it. Like I survived, which I can sort of get. 'Cause
Yeah.
I mean,
I can understand it.
yeah. Like I think for me, like I went bungee jumping before and I couldn't wait to do it. And I think a lot of why I couldn't wait to do it was the feeling I would get after having done it, more
Right.
than the 6-second free fall.
Yeah. The 6 second, like, oh my God, I'm plummeting toward
Right.
the ground.
The ground. Yes. And the one that I did was rather large, on a cable car in the middle of a canyon, and it was 134 meters, I think, if I have it correct. So it was a doozy. But anyway, I survived and felt good about it afterwards. So
There you go.
maybe that's exactly how people feel about horror movies. Where are we going with this?
I don't know. You were trying to determine what, I think you were talking about why people like horror movies, but then maybe why do people like The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Oh yeah, well, so there was that question, and then I also think that I was trying to think of the other Halloween classics, because Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus.
Surely.
Way too long.
What that movie needs to end 3 times.
It's got a real Return of the King problem. You know, it's like it keeps being so close to being over, and they're like, oh, there's another one. Okay.
We almost got
Yeah,
there.
almost there.
Yeah, I think the big one for me is like they finally like get back to like the kids' room, at the end of the night, and they're like, oh, we did it, we're friends now, like all's good, and then the witches come back again and kidnap them, and I'm like, you have got to be kidding me right now,
Right.
Like, no,
Like, again?
I disagree. I disagree. So, I am fine with watching Hocus Pocus like every other year. That is like the frequency I can be comfortable with. Alice really likes one called The Halloween Tree, which
Never
is
even
sort
heard
of
of
like,
it.
it's like an animated movie from quite some time ago, which is it's fine. It's fine. What are the other
I think this is a Charlie Brown, The Great Pumpkin, right?
Okay, I don't think I've ever actually watched that one.
I don't
which
think
is
I have
surprising.
either.
Yeah.
Turns out I'm not like a big Halloween media consumer.
Apparently not. Apparently not. Anyway, so we were talking about Christmas movies as well, though. Classics.
Are all Christmas movies classics?
That is the question. Because, like, is there one called the Prince? The Prince.
The Christmas Prince?
The Christmas Prince.
I think so.
Is that the one that has the girl from High School Musical in it?
No, that's a different one.
That's a different one?
That's a different one.
What is she in?
There is like a new Christmas movie that she's in. Yeah, Vanessa Hudgens, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, no. The Christmas Prince, I think, has Rose McIver. I think that's her name.
Wow.
I think. Hold on. I need to double check that now, because I'm like, is that the name?
Hello and welcome to our podcast, where we try to pull facts from thin air with
Yep.
a small amount of base knowledge to work off of. We're like
Let's
rooting
see.
around on a bookshelf, like where you can't really, it's too high to see.
Oh, I was exactly right.
No
It
way.
is Rose McIver in A Christmas Prince.
amazing.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Which I mostly know, I will say, if you're like, why do you know who Rose McIver is? It's because she was a Power Ranger once upon a time. And when we were first watching this movie, I was like, oh my God, that girl looks so familiar. Where have I seen her? Power Rangers.
Obviously.
It's like you never see any of the actors who were in Power Rangers go on to do very much more. But here she is, crushing it in not just A Christmas Prince, but A Christmas Prince 2 and A Christmas Prince 3. An instant classic,
And
like all Christmas movies are, and like 27 Butts will be.
Will be. Okay, so here's the real question. Is there a famous Christmas movie that somehow is well enough known that you would know what it is, but is also not a classic? I think I might have one.
Oh, okay.
Tell me if you think this falls into classic territory. It's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie called Jingle All the Way.
That's absolutely a classic.
That's a classic?
That's a classic.
You watch it every year?
I mean, I don't, but people watch it every year.
Do people watch it every year?
Absolutely, people watch it every year.
Curious.
Are there any Christmas movies that in an entire Christmas rotation got entirely 0 views?
Oh, I mean, no.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't know. I don't think so. Because I mean, when last year, especially, we were going through Christmas, and Alice was like on a diehard kick. So I mean, every night we watched a different one. And let me tell you this: when you get to the bottom of that barrel, you are like you're scraping so much bottom barrel off of it that you're hardly even getting the substance that was stored in the barrel. You're mostly just scraping barrel.
It's just barrel.
It's just
like splinters, kind of.
It is splinters
Yeah.
that you scraped with your fingernails.
And that's surprising because you'd think there'd be at least 24 good Christmas movies.
You would think that.
Yeah.
Maybe we were doing a poor job of selecting them because I did not watch Jingle All the Way last year.
But it sounds like you did do a poor job then.
Okay. So here's a question then.
Okay.
People, this is a common debate. How the Harry Potter movies have become Christmas movies.
Oh, it is weird because they're just not.
Right, yeah, like it's certainly like not the primary purpose of the stories.
Christmas does happen.
Christmas does happen. And so like that is that part of it, is that it's just like if Christmas is involved in a movie, hard stop, then it's a Christmas movie.
No. This is like Die Hard where people are like, oh yeah, it's a Christmas movie. I'm on camp. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
Man, I feel like you just opened a total can of
Well,
worms.
that's where I am. Strong opinion, weak thing. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. It is an action movie that takes place at a Christmas party.
50% of the population thinks we disagree on everything. The other 50% of the population thinks we agree on everything.
Wow. What a mind explosion. What a thought bomb.
What a thought bomb. I actually thought of it this morning, and I was like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Maybe I'm patting myself on the back too much. But
You know what? Is it that 100% of the population thinks we disagree, thinks 50... Wait, yeah, how would that work? If 100% of the population agrees that we disagree on 50% of everything. And that's kind of funny because then they would agree on this one thing.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. 100% of the population agrees that we disagree on 50% of things. Yeah. That is a good point. Okay, why is this not a bigger problem? Like, this is an actual question. Like so many things are nearly 50-50 that it's like any other statistic you were ever given in your life, if the statistic was 50% of people this, it would be more than enough to get your attention. And yet, in this particular case, it's like 50% of the people believe the exact opposite thing you do. And it's like, how is that not more of like a basis for like, hey, maybe we need to circle back, you know?
I think that's the problem. It's just a bunch of circling.
It's a bunch of circling.
It's a bunch of circling.
I think that as a planet, we need marriage counseling.
You need just marriage counseling as a planet.
Yeah. It's like because there, you know, it's like this is like one of those things where it's like neither party acknowledging that the other party's problems are valid.
Right.
You know, so it's like, no, I do not agree with you. I do not think it's a problem. And it's like, well, I do think it's a problem. It's like, well, okay. It's like you need the therapist sitting in the room to be like, okay, now listen to the other person.
Right.
You know, like this could help.
Yeah. Everyone needs a third party.
We need a third party.
Yeah.
We need aliens.
We need aliens.
Like desperately.
We can all agree on we like Earth.
Well, yes. You know, I've always said that the best way to get world peace would just be to have an alien invasion, because then we would all come together. But maybe let me revise that, because that still suggests that we would then be at war with something else.
That's the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
But now here's my new thought: the aliens could be our therapists.
We just need alien therapists.
We need alien therapists.
Yeah.
Desperately.
This
is going to be this will be my purpose in life, my jar of purpose.
Your jar of purpose.
I'm going to become other planets' alien therapist.
You want to find other planets to act as their therapist.
Precisely.
I see.
Yes.
Because certainly other planets must have similar issues. Where their populations are divided on issues.
On issues, yeah.
Like whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yes.
You can just show them the movie, be like, what do we think?
What do we think?
They'll be like, what's Christmas? Like, oh boy.
Well, probably shouldn't get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that. I can't wait to be an alien someday.
Okay.
It's gonna be awesome.
Wow.
I know.
Someday. You have to get into space.
That's true.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just jump really hard.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever considered that?
Jumping really hard?
Just jump right into space.
Just way up.
Just give it a go.
Give it a go.
More people should try jumping.
Yeah. I think there's an Olympic sport based around how high you can jump.
You know what? Great
Yeah.
transition.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Thank
this.
You like that segue?
I do.
Boom.
I do. Okay.
It's called the high jump.
It's called the high jump. First,
Yeah.
let me say something about the Olympics is
Yeah.
that there is nothing else that I think is so well executed that you can watch a single event for like 7 minutes, and inside of that 7 minutes, like understand everything,
The whole sport.
and be like rooting for someone as if you grew up with them, as if they were your elementary school best friend.
Oh, I know. You're like, okay, all right. I'm about to watch the women's 3,000 meter steeplechase. Okay, Beth and I were watching this the other day, and it was like, Beth's like, what is the steeplechase?
Right.
like I vaguely heard those words together before. What are they doing? It's like long distance with hurdles and occasionally a water jump on the track. And it's like, yeah, that's big. You got it. And it's like, all right, and who's running? That's the American. This is her story. That's this person's from there. They've run it like 3 times. And they're only, whatever.
Right.
And all of a sudden you're like, all right, let's go.
Right. Yeah. Like what are the narratives? Give them to me.
Yeah.
Who's coming? Who's like the former gold medalist, but they've like been having a tough year, but like, can they hang on?
Yeah.
And defend against like this new rookie who's like their first year ever competing, and it's just like,
Yeah.
you're into it, and like they do such a fantastic job. It's like if you think you can't get into sports, it's like you just have to know these narratives, because most of the time the sport itself doesn't matter. You're rooting for the people.
It's so true. Like stuff will come on though, and you're like, I didn't even know this existed.
Yes.
Like, this is one I think catches people off guard sometimes. Have you ever watched like the kayaking or the canoeing?
No.
It's insanity.
Really?
Like they have these man-made rivers, basically.
Awesome.
That it's like, like sort of downhill. So everyone will have the exact same course to go down essentially, and they can control it. But they will have to they'll be in their canoe and or kayak. When I say canoe, I think the only difference between the canoe event and the kayak event is whether the paddle is double bladed. It is, even in the canoe, it is absolutely a kayak.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it's like a link thing as well.
Maybe it's a link thing as well. Doesn't matter. They're having to go through the rapids and go through gates and stuff. But sometimes the gates will be you have to go you have to enter it upstream. So you'll have to go to the gate, whip the whole boat around, get back through it, and then traverse to the next one. I mean, it is nuts. They have to go down waterfalls, and I'm just you can turn it on for 2 minutes, 1 minute, and you were like, oh my, you can feel your ab muscles tightening. I feel like watching them makes me stronger, because they're trying to whip a whole boat around going upstream, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the core strength on these people.
Yes.
This is insanity what they're doing. And I watched that for like half an hour yesterday. I'm like, I've barely ever even seen this. This is amazing. It is so cool.
And here's what blows my mind though, is that not only is it like an Olympic sport? But this means that this is a sport where there are people who have like dedicated in some measure their lives to it. You didn't even know it was a thing. On top of that, there are enough people around the entire planet who do this to where they can all come together and compete and all be absolutely incredible at it.
That's the thing. Like, one of the competitors I was watching, it was like, oh yeah, her father was a gold medalist, her mother was a gold medalist, and now here she is, like, at her moment. It's like, this sport, this event brought people together, created the person I'm watching now, and now she's competing at it. And like, I've never, you don't even know about it.
Yep.
It is unbelievable the things at which. But here's the other weird thing about the Olympics, I think, is that like, if you were on the Olympic event selection committee, it seems like such a weird and powerful responsibility, because whatever events you decide are going to be in the Olympics, you're basically saying like, these are the activities that we, the whole planet, have decided are the like
the things worth competing
worth competing in on a global scale.
Right.
Like, oh yeah. Like, and some of them make sense, like 100-meter dash, boom. Yes, we want to know who the fastest person on the whole planet is.
Right.
Like, we want to encourage the entire planet to try and produce the fastest person. But then you have, I don't know, even like ping pong. It's like, we are like, if you decide that, what in the Olympic event selection committee, you were telling the entire planet, every single country, that we are encouraging you to find the best ping pong player.
Yes.
Like, it's good for ping pong in the entire world. Or table tennis, I guess, is probably the appropriate word. But
Sure, yeah. But so here's the other question too: is that like I think skateboarding was recently added to the Olympics, and it's like, what does that do to the boundaries of what people can do on a skateboard? Like, I remember like Tony Hawk landing the 900, and which is what, like two and a half spins, yeah. And that was like the most. Like it put it, like, he became a video game, like he was the greatest skateboarder of all time because he landed the 900. And it's like, I am so curious to know, like 20 years from now, if people are like, back in the day, the 900 was considered a difficult move. Now it's a difficulty of 3.4.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, how much will this push? Because that's the other thing that's like mind blowing to me is like, I've seen a video explaining this before, but it's almost like the fact that in the year 1900, the 100-meter dash, like the fastest person might be able to run it in like 11.5 seconds. And now you're seeing people run it in like 9 seconds.
Close.
Yeah.
I don't know what the world record is.
But like what's boggling about that is that what we're literally seeing is it is crazy to me that records keep being broken. It's like the Olympics have been going on for this long and people are getting faster.
Yeah.
Like that means that at so many points in time, literally the best person there ever was wouldn't even stand a chance against the fastest person today.
I've seen videos about this before as well, and there are some considerations that like, but it's possible they would, like, some of the advantages modern athletes have are just like the technology of the sport itself advancing.
Okay.
Which, in like an event like the 100-meter dash, that, if the technology adds like another 1/10 of a second off, that's huge.
Yeah.
Or something. But like, people in the 1920s, I don't think had, or didn't even have maybe like starting blocks or something. So like that lets you start faster. Or like even the track itself probably wasn't that like high grip rubber material will let you run faster.
That's fair.
Or the like the spikes in the shoes or the lightweight shoes or just even the fabrics you run in or something like that. Like all of those things add up to like a few tenths here, a few tenths there.
Which is
massive.
Massive. Yeah. When you're talking about this.
But then there's also like, modern training regimes and stuff, which that who's to say, like, maybe if people back then trained the way they train today, maybe they could have.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in how many more or how much more resources put into training these people versus like, and I think we talked about this maybe in last week's pop, where it's like you maybe are like a minor during the day, but you also happen to be extremely fast. So it's like, you're not a professional 100-meter dasher, but you are exceptional at running the 100-meter dash, but it's not your job.
Right.
You know, so like you still have to go and do a different job as well. And I don't know with how many Olympic athletes, because I think that there probably are plenty of these sports where there's not enough funding for it to be
like your full-time job.
Your full-time job.
I know they were talking about even like some American, I think it was like a middle distance runner. Maybe it was the steeplechasers. I don't know what I was watching, but she finished and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this for all the people out there who have." She works a full-time job and was competing in the Olympics.
Got it.
And placed in one of the heats or something, and it was like, "Whoa, this is insane."
That is, yeah. That's really
you're
remarkable.
managing to get it done in your spare time.
Right. But here's the other thing too, though, is I was watching the I think the 400-meter hurdles final for women the other day, and the two girls from America who were competing with each other both broke the world record with their times.
Oh no!
And it's like, so the second place person broke the world record, which was actually set by the first place person.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like, can you imagine breaking a world record and not winning?
Oh, that would be so hard.
It's like literally you have run this better than anyone else
in history,
except
the person next to you,
except for one person who happened to be in the same race.
Yeah. That's unbelievable.
It's like, no.
Although you might say that the two of them, if you're in the race with that person, maybe that's what made each of them that much faster.
Right.
Maybe they pushed each other to glory. Who knows?
That is true. And their whole phrase was iron sharpens iron, was like, they're like, they trained together and stuff like that. So they were basically saying that by having each other to work off of, that's literally what's making them better. So that's actually a very good assessment, I think, based on, at the very least, what the marketing attached to these two athletes was. So that's interesting. But so here's another question for you is, one of the things on like the world scale that America just seems to not really be able to compete in is men's soccer / football, depending on where you're listening to from.
You were correct. The men's U.S. soccer team, the men's U.S. football team, not so great, which is so weird because the women's U.S. soccer team is like unstoppable.
They're amazing.
They're so good.
I know. Yeah. It's really, it's very interesting. And I don't know how much of it could be like I remember watching the Women's World Cup. What was it, like 94 maybe, like when Mia Hamm was in like the shootout with China, I believe.
Right. And Brandy Chastain wins the final one.
Yeah. So like there's a part of me that wonders, and I this is me not knowing enough about the history of like the sport on the whole, either side of it. But like how much of that was incredibly inspiring for, because probably many of the people who are on the team now watched that event as a little girl.
Probably.
So like that's a deeply inspiring thing. This is it's almost like the most recent Mighty Ducks show.
Right.
Where it's almost like the Ducks show up, they're the extreme underdogs, like they all have to fight this like adversity just to make it, and then they win. Like they become like the name, and then fast forward 20 years, and now they're like the Ducks are like the dynasty team. It's like they are no longer the underdogs or the underducks, as it were.
Underducks.
They are now like the fierce competitors. They are like the villains, if you will, just from like a narrative standpoint. Because they become so very good. So this is like what makes me wonder, and I'm like a huge fan of the movie Miracle, which is of course the story about like the college hockey players who come together and beat Russia in the 1980 Olympics. And it's like, what impact did that have on hockey players in America? Because you saw your team win, and it's like, okay, there's that. So what I've always hoped for since I've been alive is that at some point in time, the U.S. men's would win the Soccer World Cup in some type of like ragtag total underdog story. Like, because here's the honest fact is that the United States is not exactly the underdog in many things.
Yeah, that's very true.
But this is like one small corner where it's like we could still excel more and maybe get into that frame. But so my big argument here, and the reason I brought this up is because I think that there's a certain amount to be said for U.S. men's soccer not having more of a spotlight, despite the fact that it's like the most popular sport in just about every other country on the planet.
Yeah.
Because what we call football is the most popular sport in our
America.
country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is another weird thing is because like what do you think American football will ever be added to the Olympics?
This is it feels like it would. It feels like no. Like it almost feels like what happened was America was like, well, we can't play your version of football, so we'll just create our own version of football, and so we'll be good at that. But it doesn't feel like it. I don't know. Maybe it's like the NBA, like basketball. Like it's like there's so much energy and like funneling and resources and all this stuff from like such a young age to like train basketball players to be amazing. And then like when the US competes at the Olympics, it's like one of those sports where it's like the Olympics really isn't the top game for this. Like for track and field, the Olympics is the pinnacle.
Right.
You could maybe even make the same argument for soccer.
Yeah, I would say the
Olympics.
World Cup's probably a bigger deal than. Well, I mean, I'm sure they're both pretty big.
They're
but
both
it's like
huge,
it's like the Tour de France with cycling.
Yes,
Or like, yeah.
Like winning the Tour de France is a higher accolade in the world of cycling than getting the gold medal in cycling at the Olympics.
Sure.
So and I would say basketball is that exact same way. It's like getting the gold medal is probably not the same as winning the national championship.
Like the NBA.
For the NBA. And I don't know where I'm going with this.
But do you think even if they added American football, it wouldn't the Olympics?
It just wouldn't be bigger than the Super Bowl.
Right.
And it's like because we have put so much energy into like, the sport, and it's like effectively our national pastime at this point in time. It's like it does seem like it would take an incredibly long time for any other country to catch up with the infrastructure that we have built around.
But there are like football leagues in other countries. Like there's like Canadian football and there's like European football leagues and stuff.
Sure. I still just don't think that they're probably. I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe it's a lot more competitive than I think it is.
I don't know either. I would also assume that just guessing that Olympic American football, I doubt they would call it that, would have a slightly different rule set than like the NFL.
That would be interesting.
Because like even Canadian football, I think like the field size is a little bit different, and
sure,
I don't know, there are differences.
Right.
So I would bet that it's a little bit different. There's difference between like college football and NFL football.
That's true as well. This is like always one of those things that where it's like, like Alabama, for example, is like a huge dynasty team in college football. I'd always be so curious to see what it would be like if they were to like play against the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Cleveland Browns or like whoever like the low team in the NFL is, like to get that sense of scale.
Yeah.
Or similarly for that matter, I think you were telling me about a tweet the other day in the Olympics where it would just be really interesting if one person competing was like your everyman.
Right. Yeah. So every sport just had an everyman in it.
So you had some sense of scale as to like just how good these people are.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, it's like, here's Usain Bolt. Here is an accountant from New Jersey. Right. Like, go.
There you go.
Because it would be, I'm sure that it would not be, I don't know. It would probably be funnier than it should be.
I think it would be funny. I think it would probably give you a sense of appreciation for maybe the people who aren't necessarily like winning the events or something.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Like you go to the pool or something and it looks like, oh, that person just won by half a length of the pool. Like man, did 8th place even try? And it's like, let me just tell you that 8th place would destroy you.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
And it would not be close.
It would not be close. I mean,
Yeah.
even people who don't qualify for the Olympics who are in the Olympic trials
Exactly.
would destroy you.
Exactly.
Like, you're talking like 50, 60 people from the person who won gold who are, I mean, even more than that,
Yeah,
I'm sure,
yeah.
are like incredible athletes.
Yeah.
So I have always thought that would sort of be like a very, very, very interesting perspective to have, would just be to like take someone and show just like how remarkable it is.
Right.
These things that people are doing. The one that I cannot get is diving, because like the points that get ticked it's like the most minuscule.
Oh,
Like-
diving is the hardest one for me to watch, because you'll watch them and they'll go through the air and they'll do all the flips and twists and they hit the water what looks like straight to me, and the commentators are like, such pros themselves. They're like, wow, that was really disappointing. And I'm like, or they'll be like, perfection.
Oh,
And
no.
you're like, what happened? What happened?
Show me. Put in slow motion.
Tell me what was the difference. Like, please point it out to me, because to me, anything that wasn't a belly flop or something, like that's how obvious I needed to be. Like,
Right,
wow, they didn't even complete the flip.
Like
or something.
they landed on their
Yeah.
back. No, okay. I felt so burned. I felt like my heart was breaking watching the diving, because all I was seeing was what looked like perfectly executed
Yeah.
dives, and then the announcers being like, "Ooh."
Yeah,
And it was
they're
like-
they're not going to be happy with that one.
I did not feel validated at all. It
Yeah.
was like everything I thought was wrong. It was like, whoa, ooh. It's
Yeah.
like, no, that wasn't. Can you? Really? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, diving's the tricky one. It's like, because everything looks so perfect all the time. And maybe it's just like a matter of you not understanding the difficulty between one dive to another, but also like you sitting at home knows you couldn't do even the most simple. I couldn't even dive straight from the board and land straight in the water, I don't think,
Oh, yeah.
Like my legs would be flailing out behind me, and, it would.
What is the most basic dive imaginable?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, probably can't even do that.
Yeah.
In a like what would be like a 0.3 per Olympic standards.
Right.
But so the other thing too,
You couldn't even convince me to jump backwards off the platform and just land in the water with my feet.
Mom, are you watching? Are you watching,
woo!
Mom? Oh man, yeah. Pretty much everything. And I actually did diving in high
Yeah.
school, and still, I mean, like this is certainly, it would go to show just how not prepared I was for doing this particular sport. Is that even having done it and competed at the state level where I came in last, I have no knowledge of like what's good and what's bad. Like Alice used to do pageants, you know, like where she where she would go on stage and do the whole thing. And if I watch like any of the pageants with her, she can explain to me everything.
Right.
Like she knows like why something was good, why something wasn't good, like what was a good answer, what wasn't a good answer. Like her working knowledge is fantastic for it, versus me watching diving. Not even the slightest clue. Like I have absolutely no basis of knowledge, and I've probably spent at least 50 times more energy doing it than probably your average person has spent around a diving board.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So there you go. Maybe there's a tremendous left to know about what to look for in a dive. Yeah. Here's what I think would be super interesting, though, jumping back to if they had American football in the Olympics, is like what the team selection process would be. Because like if you're in America, a lot of times like your NFL team is like a big part of your sports identity.
Yeah.
And it's like the players on that team are your favorite players, and you have strong opinions about who the other quarterbacks are or whatever. Like I think it would be so interesting to see like if you are like a fan of like, let's say the Green Bay Packers, and their quarterback is this guy named Aaron Rodgers, and he's largely considered like one of the best to ever play it or whatever.
Sure.
But if then like Tom Brady is like placed as the quarterback for the U.S. Olympic team, are you like Because chances are, if you're a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, you don't love Tom Brady.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But certainly in the Olympics, you'd be like, let's go. Look at amazing.
Well, this is the case with everything too. I mean, I would even say from college to the NFL.
Yeah.
It's like, you could be a diehard college fan, and you could, like for us, it's like we support Virginia Tech, which means that we don't support, the University of Virginia. But then like if the Washington football team were to get the star quarterback or star wide receiver or something from the University of Virginia, then like all of a sudden I'm all in on them.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
it's like as soon as
here we go.
all I need is you to be under my umbrella. And like, once you're under my umbrella, I got you, man. I got you.
Right.
But if you're under someone else's umbrella, then I do not got you.
You do not got you. That's
Yeah.
right. I'm
Yeah.
afraid not.
So I think it's always funny the way that, and I feel like this is probably why my guess is that like a sense of positive patriotism or something, like being proud of the country that you are from during the Olympics, probably. I have to imagine there's a surge during Olympic years.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you have this like great equalizer, which is like you're now, regardless of like where you came from, like which college you compete with or which professional sports team you're from, it's like you are now just representing us.
Right.
Like all of our country. And so now it's like, now I can support you.
Right.
Wholeheartedly.
Right. Even if you root against them all the time in the more localized version of the sport, you're all in on them at the global level.
Yes. And so
Right.
again, after I go and become an alien therapist,
Yeah.
the next thing I'm going to do is start the intergalactic Olympics.
Intergalactic Olympics.
Yes.
Where that's going to be tricky. You got to find like events where potential different like alien species don't have advantages based on their genetic makeups and stuff.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Although maybe what we would discover is that we think that like, whenever you see like aliens in movies and stuff, you always see them as like these like
humanoid.
Well, I always see that. I feel like very frequently they have like tentacles or like more eyes or, like something like very, very, very different from like the way that we are. But what if like the case is that it's like, no, the reason you're like a human is because it's a very good like structure for like a civilized species. So it's
Right.
like what if it was just the case that like all aliens just also like enough time has passed that they all just look like people.
Right. Like the what makes any alien civilization eventually successful is that they're kind of humanoid.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thumbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They probably got thumbs. You'd think.
You'd think.
Because like humans are very just like symmetrical.
Right.
And like most animals are symmetrical. So you'd think they'd have some form of symmetry just based on how everything here has developed.
Except for flounders.
Except for flounders. That's true.
They're
Everything got put on one side.
That's true.
But they're not. The other side is still fairly symmetrical, minus like the
face.
I don't know. Yeah, the face.
The face of it.
The face of it.
Darn flounders.
Weird flounder.
Yeah, so I don't know. I've always thought that would be very interesting. It's like our imagination goes so colorful with what other species may look like, but it also could just be the case that like the reason that we are even the way that we are is because like it is like environmentally efficient.
Right.
And it's like we came this way probably because it made sense for us to be this way.
Right.
It's not by accident.
Right.
I think.
Hopefully. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
How about a corny joke?
A corny joke.
A corny joke.
I'd love one.
We actually have two today.
Oh.
Because we recently hired a new member here at the Super Carlin Brothers office. A gal named Kat who's been doing some work for us.
She has.
Her father apparently in true popcorn culture fashion sends her and her family corny jokes every day.
Excellent.
So she uses like unlimited feed of new possible corny jokes. Yes.
Yes.
Hey, how come we don't call them popics?
Oh, popics.
Like, let me give you another popic for today.
like a pop topic.
Yeah, like a pop topic.
Yeah.
Like topic, but popic.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
Anyway.
we could try it out.
All right, we'll give it a go. All right, so corny joke from Kat Stein's dad says, I know someone who wants to be an archaeologist, but I'm convinced if he does, his life will be in ruins.
Oh.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. I like it.
Okay, I have a small tangent from here. So
Okay.
So one of my favorite things about like the Jurassic Park movies was like when they were like uncovering the skeleton in the beginning of the Jurassic Park, the original.
They got the little makeup brush out there,
It's
like
And it's like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. So I like to follow on my TikTok. I get like car detailing stuff pretty frequently.
Oh, okay.
And I've recently discovered that like almost all detailers use these like they're like large makeup brushes, but they've got like these like bristles that are super good at like getting into all like the nooks and crannies and stuff. So I ordered some the other day and I was like cleaning my wheels with them, and I was like, I'm an archaeologist.
This is the best.
I wonder if I'll find a fossil.
Now, hold on. Now, while we're on the subject of car detailing and your car, is it am I correct that you recently had your car detailed by like the world's clunkiest detailer or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to, I mean, it's not often that I would put someone on blast, and I won't put them on blast, but like, goodness gravy, if I have ever been more retroactively and consistently frustrated with one person in my life ever, it is the person who detailed my car. So it was for Valentine's Day this year. Alice, there's like a detail shop near her business, and so she was like, yeah, like I paid for you to get your truck detailed. So like we go and drop it off. We're like so excited, and it comes home, and it's, you know, it's super shiny and clean and everything. It's like, this is awesome. But then it's like somewhere in the process, this guy thought that it was necessary to like take apart the entire interior of the car. So like any piece of like hard plastic that like holds the switches for your like windows or anything, the like when you like pull the visor down and you've got like the mirror with like the two little like light bulbs and everything, it's like he went through and pried every single piece of plastic off and just sheared them, all of them. He broke everything, like,
and then just like sort of placed it back.
And so it's like, it's been the case that, you know, I don't very frequently have people who like ride in the back seat of my car, or even really for that matter, like in the passenger seat of my car, because I just usually don't have anybody with me. But it has been the case that it is now August, and month after month, I am continuing to find a new piece of plastic that this guy just broke. And so like I've had to systematically go through and like find each of these incredibly obscure parts, because it's not like, oh, I need to replace my muffler, and you search Toyota Tundra muffler and there's the one. It's like, this is like, what do you call the hard piece of plastic that surrounds your window switches? I have no idea. Like, I don't know what that is.
Right. That's like Toyota Tundra 2017 model number KC91230.
That was incredibly close, I think.
Oh, okay.
Very, very, very accurate. But then on top of that is that like these pieces of plastic are like $30 a piece. So I mean, you know, if you ever were in a situation where like you set something down too hard in your car, or something happened and you broke it, it's like, that's not that big of a deal. That's pretty easy to replace. And on the whole, they're all pretty easy to replace. It's just like a screw and plastic tab. So
apparently they're not easy to replace.
That's the thing. That's the thing. It's like, how are you in this industry? And also, why did you take it apart to begin with? Because it doesn't need to be taken apart.
Right. Doesn't really need the deep cleaning underneath the window switch.
Yeah. So like, what I'm wondering is whether or not he went through and like pried all these pieces of plastic off, and then like put them like all in a row and like, you know, cleaned them as like a big bunch, or like put them to a dishwasher or something, which wouldn't even surprise me at this point. But it has been so upsetting. It's so like infuriating, because the whole, and especially from Alice's perspective, who was like, I'm giving you this as like a way to enjoy your car more.
Yeah.
And instead it's been like,
now it's all broken.
it has cost me more than the detailing cost to start replacing all of these pieces.
Yeah.
And I keep finding them. Like, just, I mean, literally yesterday, I pulled my door shut, and the piece of plastic that exists behind the door lever inside of my car, like, it's just like a molded small piece of plastic, fell out on me. And I was like, no.
Yeah, I remember we were driving back one day from the bike park after my crash, and someone was going to put the window down, and they pushed the button, and the button just fell into the door.
Into the door.
It was just like, Ben, the button's gone. Like, what? And just looked over, sure enough, there's just a hole in the door now.
Yeah. It was just like, man. So, and here's the thing too, is that like, it's a fairly new car. Like, I bought it new.
Yeah.
And it has like, I don't know, 35,000 miles on it or something. So it's like, it's not, it should be in mint condition effectively. Like,
right.
And it's not. Ugh.
Well, I'm sorry. You'll have to keep us up to date if any more random pieces of your car just fall apart.
I will.
Yeah.
I will.
But you had a second corny joke for us?
Oh, I sure did. Yeah. Also from Cat Stein's dad.
Oh, wow.
This one is, they're actually one-liners, but I think they're great. Did you hear that the CEO of IKEA got elected president of Sweden? He's about to take office, but he is busy assembling his cabinet.
You
get it.
It sounds like his cabinet.
Yeah.
Because this is IKEA and they assemble all the furniture.
They do,
It's
yeah.
amazing.
I
It's
know.
pretty good.
I know.
I wonder if he thinks of these himself or just I mean, it's a pretty good skill if you can come up with these on the daily.
And that is. I mean,
solid.
that's, I have to imagine you're just committing a whole heck of a lot of time to doing this very thing.
Yeah.
It's like a concerted effort, which actually I think is sort of an interesting topic to discuss because this has been something that I've wondered about before. Like I've gone back, you and I were just talking about our cross country days the other day in the office. And one of the things that kind of occurred to me about it was like, while I was running cross country, I think I had myself convinced that I really wanted to be like better at the sport, that like I wanted to, be the top runner on our team or whatever. It just wasn't true. Like, I just don't actually think that like I was showing up every day and like putting the effort into in the same way that I put effort into things I want to be good at now.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like an addiction type of thing. It's like, I can't help but continue to research this and continue to learn more and continue to be like better educated on a topic and figure out how to be like better at the thing as a whole.
Yeah.
That was never the case with running.
Right.
And I was telling you, like, even when I was running in the meets in high school, like during the race itself, and maybe this is more common than I think it is, I was never thinking about the race. I was never thinking about what my legs were doing. I was literally usually thinking about like a date that I went on recently, or like
You're ruminating.
I was ruminating. Yeah. So like I would literally be like in the middle of a cross country race, like replaying conversations in my head from like 6 days ago.
Right.
And it's like, that's, so I go sprinting past that 2 mile marker or whatever. And it's like, instead of being like, okay, so I'm at this pace and I've been able to maintain this and I dropped from that, like, okay, I could probably pick it up in the last 800, nope, not at all. Not even at all.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like,
Yep. I'm just not running right now.
I'm just not running right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's interesting to me because my belief is that like whenever you see somebody who's like really good at something, it means that they have put this like concerted effort into it. Like,
yeah.
It does matter more to them, I think.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So my question here for you was like, I feel like you have always had this like remarkable knowledge of like all of these things that we consumed as kids. Like your like nostalgia brain is like unbelievable. And so I go back and think about how we could have all been sitting in the living room watching any of these shows together where you could just spit fire like I don't know, like a random character from Power Rangers or something like
Rose McIver.
Like Rose McIver, yes. Or who was the one who did like the putty and like made all the villains?
Oh, Finster.
Yeah, Finster, of
Yeah,
course. Yeah,
yeah.
Obviously. How about the character who had like a saucer shaped head, that like a robot inside?
Oh, like with Zordon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alpha 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Aye.
Oh my God. Okay, so here's my question.
Yeah.
How much more while watching those things were you enjoying them than me?
No, I don't know. It must have been maybe a lot.
Like maybe a lot.
Yeah.
Like I think it's like this type of thing where it's like, it is very possible that I was at most tolerating this information, this entertainment happening to me because I like, I don't remember any of this stuff.
Right.
And so it's like, it makes me think that you must have been like really like connecting with it
Right.
in a much greater way.
I suppose so.
Like, can you go back to like 6-year-old Jonathan Carlin sitting in our living room in the chair that you always got?
Yeah.
You know the chair?
I know the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You always got that chair. Like when these things came on, like were you like excited that they were coming on?
I think for certain things, yeah.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
sure. Like there was a lot of like, I mean, I don't know if we were, at the babysitter's house and the TV was on, there was plenty of stuff that, I would say I was just like tolerating because it was all we really had to do. But, for stuff I was like actually really liked, then I'd be excited it was coming on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, do you remember the show Gullah Gullah Island?
Yeah. Binya Binya.
Dang it. Did you like this show?
No, not really.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you. Binya Binya was the big yellow frog costume thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And it always bothered me that it was called Gullah Gullah Island and he was called Binya Binya and like it wasn't called like Binya Binya Island.
Oh, I see.
And I was like, it's so close. Why is obviously like the big gimmick of the show is that it's a giant yellow frog. I think it was like a tadpole even, but not even quite a fully grown frog and yet way bigger than a regular thing.
You're not even a real frog,
You're not even
man.
a real frog. Like, be a frog or don't.
Commit. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something to be said for the fact that even things that you didn't enjoy, you also can contain memories from.
Sure.
So maybe it's just a different kind of skill entirely.
I don't know. Maybe.
Like, or did you ever think that it would be like useful to know this information?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think my brain is really good at retaining this kind of information, but I can tell you that it would have, I don't entirely know like what would have like made me want to remember it if it was like the more I know about this, like the more like people will like me or something, or like being knowledgeable about this will be useful in that way. I'm not sure that's ever really been true, but it has not stopped my brain from constantly trying to do it.
Interesting. That is really interesting. So that, I mean, even that makes me wonder, like, if these are like kind of like the nature versus nurture thing, like what are the things that stand out to any one individual that their perception of like succeeding in a given field might gain them like social praise of some kind.
Right.
Like, and is that like more than anybody maybe either would want to admit, or otherwise like a huge driving force behind so many people. Mm-hmm. Like I thought about this the other day as well. Like when choosing a career path, for example, at which direction were you like answering a driving force behind? Like, are there people out there who are like, I would like to make a lot of money when I'm older and I don't want to be a doctor, so I will be a lawyer, versus someone who was like, I desperately want to be a lawyer when I grow up. Like, you see what the difference is? It's like, what is the impetus driving like these decisions? Is it like, first, I want to make money when I'm older, so what is the underneath that filter? What are the career options that are available to me, and which is the one that appeals the most? Okay, I'll do that one.
Right.
Versus like that like innate sense of this is what I want to do.
Right.
This is what I'm chasing.
Like wanting to be a lawyer because you want to like affect how laws are made or defend people or
exactly.
Yeah. Versus wanting to be a lawyer because you will have a nice paycheck.
Right. Yeah. And so this is again like one of those it's probably like an underlying question of that like life's fulfillment path, and determining like whether or not there is because I think that there are people out there who I'm certain there are people out there who are primarily driven by the financial reward associated with anything that they do. But there's also the side effect of that, to where it's almost like any amount of accomplishment you've achieved usually just means that the bar just got higher. And so it's like, is it like a forever quest in the direction of attempting to be fulfilled by being that much more successful? But it's almost like you can't be, because it's always going to like live just on that horizon.
That certainly seems what your life often looks like.
Explain that to me.
That like that whatever it seems like you're aiming for, whatever you're trying to accomplish to fill like whatever void you have with that like sense of accomplishment, whenever you get there, it almost always seems like it evaporates away or like doesn't actually fill said void, and then you're just hunting something else.
Yeah, I think you're right. But it's not like any one given category. Like for me, I think what
that just seems that I would say it also seems like you're not quite sure what the category is sometimes.
Yes, and I think that's like a constant quest for me, is trying to figure out like what it is, like what is this like underlying like drive. You know, what am I all like focused on. But I do think that you're right in that almost always if I accomplish something, then all that really proves to me is that it was much more accomplishable than I thought it was. And so then typically I will just then raise the bar and be like, okay, well, now I have to make it that much harder so that there's like this new motivational driving force to achieve that, like to get to that next rung, I guess. And I don't know if that's like a carrot and a stick type of thing, like, you know, where you tie the stick to the back of somebody and put the carrot in front of you and you just keep chasing the carrot, even though it's like, it's a fixed point in front of you.
Right.
You know, like the whole idea is that you can't catch the carrot.
Right.
But so, yeah, I don't know. That's, I guess the reason I'm asking the question is sort of like this idea of, as you are establishing like some type of career path, are there better or worse methods as to like determining what is actually going to allow you to like catch that carrot? Like what would be the answer to that question? Or is there like a way to try to orient the way that you're thinking in such a way that you're making sure that that's what you're actually focused on?
Right.
Like what are the most fulfilling career options available?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think your career necessarily has to be the thing that's like the most fulfilling to you in your life either, though.
That's a very, very true point. I think that sometimes I feel like that is something that is pressed into us a little bit more than needs to be, is the idea that like you are defined by your career.
Right.
And it's interesting even like how much sense of identity is like this. Like you're trying to like fill that sense through so many like external things,
right,
versus like much more of like an internal,
right,
something or another.
Yeah.
And I wonder, I guess like my query, and maybe even just out to the general public instead of just you in general, is almost like, is there a better way to uncover what that actually is?
To uncover what is?
Like what is at the what is like what is that?
Like what will like make you feel fulfilled? Is that what you're trying to say?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Helpful.
Sorry.
Helpful indeed. All right, let's close out with a fun fact about coyotes.
Oh, okay.
I think it's been a beat. So I've got one here from Buttalusky, who says, did you know when you hear a coyote pack howling at night, you may actually only be hearing one or two and not a whole pack? So it's like at night, this is something I've always imagined like with camping. You know, it's like if you hear like howling off in the distance, you're like, there's a whole bunch of them out there. But this is actually due to what's called, and I don't speak French, but the phrase is French. It's the beau geste effect. In French, this literally means beautiful gesture. This is an auditory illusion that has to do with the large variety of sounds a howl can make and how those sounds travel through the environment.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
It is cool because it's almost like what you've got is these like very complex sound that can like go in so many different directions that it feels like it's like bouncing all around in such a way that you as far away interpret it as many more sounds.
That's crazy. Yeah, that it could just be like one or two, but actually it sounds like 10
I know
coyotes out there.
I know.
Oh boy.
I'd be curious at all if this is an evolutionary thing and there's like some aspect of less about humans and more about like other creatures, you know, out there, if there was some benefit to sounding like a much bigger pack than you actually are.
Ooh, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way it's sort of like, well, we don't want to go over there.
Don't want to go over
There's
there.
a whole bunch of them over there.
bunch.
Okay. All right, guys. But otherwise, I think that's probably a good place for us to call it today.
All right.
Do you agree?
I think so.
Excellent. If you guys want to support us on Patreon, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/popcornculture. We have a great example of the After the Final Pop episode that we do for each show, about 27 butts, which will eventually be, hopefully, maybe, Jay and I's hit Christmas classic.
That's right.
In the future, the tale of the Butt family and their one toilet.
Exactly. Oh boy, what a Christmas.
What a Christmas. It's riveting stuff, truly and honestly. Otherwise, we're also over on Reddit, and if you want to send any feedback to me directly about what is actually at your core, you can do so at popcornculturepod@gmail.com. Otherwise, until next week,
Pop, pop.